Welcome back to the Kim Abrams Show. I miss you guys so much from last week, and I just cannot wait to talk about all the beautiful things that I'm going to talk about today. And let me tell you, it's going to be amazing, y'all. We're going to talk about emotional burnout, you guys, and how to move forward and take ease with the Lord, you guys. And it's just so amazing to be able to stand here and talk about these things with you guys. And so I'm very excited about this episode today. So I like to start by saying, how are you guys doing out there today? Share this wonderful episode that I am going to talk about today. And today is going to be all about helping you guys to understand what emotional burnout looks like. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. So let's jump right on in and get started, you guys. So, honestly, I wanted to talk about this because I do feel my points when I feel emotionally burned out. And what I mean by that is sometimes I feel emotional burned out when I'm not taking the proper time for Kimberly. And so what that looks like to me is irritability, constant fatigue, even after you rested for 8 hours. And I'm here to say that just because you rested for 8 hours doesn't necessarily mean that you have adequate amount of rest. And I feel like, when you're constantly fatigued, that means that you need to take time to rest for you, for yourself, and you don't have to say yes to everything. That's why we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But you can rest 8 hours and literally still be in so much of a frustration mode. And so what I like to say is that if you've been feeling emotionally drained or numb or just feeling overwhelmed by everything, or you're losing your motivation or your excitement about everything, or even your way of being easily overwhelmed, then I think that's a time for you to just step back and take time for you, even if it's just a couple days, to be able to get yourself together. And you're just always feeling like, oh, that's too much, this too much, then you have some irritability going on, and you're probably irritated, very easily. Or if you're just like snappy or overwhelmed, those could be the signs of I'm emotionally burned out, I'm tired. And even if you're getting the minimum 4 hours, you're still going to be tired, because that's just what emotional burnout looks like. And even people have difficulty concentrating or making decisions. So all of those are things that you have to look at. And I want you guys to, fully be transparent with me today. So, how many of you guys in the comment section have experienced emotional burnout? What did you actually take and do? Like, what did you do for yourself to pull yourself back in from being drained out? So, another thing is like wanting to withdraw from your responsibilities. And a lot of people, they burn out. And honestly, I have to stop saying this myself, because I feel like I put that burden on myself by saying, if I don't do it, who's gonna do it? But there are people in our lives who are willing to do things, about delegating tasks. God, we always have God in our lives. Like, he is first, and he will send any help for the rescue. So we can't say stuff like I'm tired, but not just physically. But a lot of times people say like I'm tired in my soul. And so that is like a big sign of emotional burnout as well. So we have to overcome that. And the first thing we can overcome that with is, stop being in the midst of over scheduling things or having over responsibility within yourself. So for example, I just recently scheduled like everybody their wash day at home. And so what that looks like is on Mondays, there's something, Tuesdays and something, and I don't wash clothes every day. It's like Mondays I'm only doing, the boys' clothes, which is, my little boys. And then Tuesday is kind of like a rest day from clothes, but you're just doing towels and blankets. So something easy, breaking up your tasks in smaller portion and just not being able to just take care of everybody, teaching your children how to do certain things around the house so that way you're not overwhelmed. Because like running businesses or projects, we all have to learn how to delegate those tasks. And honestly, I'm learning to do that and just saying, hey, I'll just pay someone to do this portion and then I'll pay someone else to do that portion. That way things are getting done. And then parenting responsibilities. If you're married or if you have co-parenting, things going on in your lifestyle, co-parent that together. Co-parent that together, like don't put all the tests on yourself. Because that's where you feel like you have a lack of support, and then you start to feel like you're carrying all the weight and everything alone, and then you start having these high expectations of yourself, and it just become overwhelming, and that's how you get emotionally burned out. And the reason why I say emotionally, because it's not about physical burned out. It's about the emotions on the inside. Like, oh my God, like you start to feel like super overwhelmed. And so I think a lot of times we feel like we're gotta be perfected or perfectionism, along with everything. And we don't have to be, y'all. Like we have to learn how to take time for ourselves and just do better. You know what I mean? Like we don't have to sit around and just, be emotionally burned out from every single thing in our life. And you don't have to try to do everything all in one day, break the task up. So I used to write a to-do list out, y'all, and I used to be like, I think I can get this all done in one day. But honestly, that was causing me to feel burned out. So by the time my kids come home, that was the burnout because it was like I was putting too much on myself in one day. And even now, I'm still learning how to not put too much on myself because you'd be like, oh, it's 24 hours in a day. Yeah, but we sleep almost 8 to 10 of those. You know what I mean? And so we can't put all that stuff on ourselves. And we just got to learn how to take time for ourselves. I don't care if it's 30 minutes. Take time for yourself away from everything work, people, even your spouses, your kids. Just take 30 minutes away from everything and just pour back into yourself. You know what I mean? Because when you pour into everyone, it becomes emotional stressful. Then you start having marriages challenges, and then you start having financial pressure because of everything that's going on around you, and the career uncertainty because it's more of a burnout. You know what I mean? So let's talk about the HALT method. So HALT means hungry, and then you have something that says angry, like the A, and then lonely and tired. So anytime you are in these moments, and whoever is watching, put this in the comment section. And what I want you guys to do, if nobody don't put this in the comment section, I will, but I want you guys to follow that HALT method, because what that does is that will basically allow you guys to understand what the HALT method is, to use that anytime you feel those um physicalities of I'm hungry, I'm angry, I'm lonely, I'm feeling lonely or lonely, and then I'm tired. Anytime you're at the HALT method, or halting in that seasonal or that moment, the best thing to do if you're hungry, eat. Cause I feel like if you don't, you really gonna you're not going to function well. And then the angry method is basically where you may be angry about something. That's the moment where you take time for yourself and just stop and pause. And then the lonely method, sometimes you feel lonely. Maybe you could call someone, or the tired method, you can take a quick nap of 20, 30 minutes, especially if you know that these is what triggers you to feel emotionally exalted and want to be resentful about the things that you're supposed to do. So, a couple of ways to start your healing process, or healing all your burnout, is to take small steps to restore your emotional strength, like reducing pressure off yourself. Remember what I said about delegating. Um, and everything doesn't have to happen today. You can schedule it a month out. Stuff like that. I know sometimes I have to schedule things out, like even if it's a month away, that's okay. I think the biggest thing, people and everyone around us, like we all be trying to catch up with the next person or what they're doing, and then it just kind of, run that way. And so I think we just need to focus on what we're doing and not focus on what somebody else is doing, and just kind of go from there. That'll help us to stay focused on what God really has for us, and scheduling restoration and quiet time and prayer time and walks and journaling, and when you walk, maybe walk without music, maybe just walk, clear your mind, because I think a lot of times we feel like we need something, but maybe just walk. No music, no phone, just nothing. And journal all your thoughts down, set boundaries when people ask you things and it just feels overwhelming. Just say no. And no is really a complete sentence. And you don't have to just say yes to everything. You know what I mean? You don't have to. So if especially if it's just too much, just you don't have to do it. And talk about what you're carrying, to God, so that you're forming those conversations, because I feel like burnout grows when it's in silence, when you don't talk about things. And so, like, you need to return to your purpose, like, remember, so you don't get burned out. Like, why did I start this? And you got to ask yourself, like, am I operating from an overflow or exhaustion? Because sometimes I feel like we operate from exhaustion, and this is not an overflow of what God really gave us. Because if it's from an overflow, we're not going to feel overwhelmed or confused or irritated or angry. If it's from a place of overflow, we're going to ultimately feel that this is blossoming. We're not gonna feel tired. We're gonna feel pumped, happy, ready to roll. Because healthy leadership, and parenting and ministry, it just all comes from overflow. I'm telling y'all. Like, it just comes from that. So in Mark 31, he said, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. So that is how you spend your ultimate time with God. And it's intimate, it's beautiful, you guys. And we have to do that. We can't say that we love God and then we're not showing up and living the way that God wants us to live, right? So I want you guys to ask yourself, am I operating from a place of overflow or exhaustion? And once you really dive deeper in and you ask yourself that, you'll be able to see, what am I doing? So if you missed out on the episode for today, you can go back and listen. Share this episode with someone who is operating from a place of exhaustion and they're not really operating from a level of overflow. Use the HALT method every day and do those things. So if you're hungry, eat. If you're angry, take a deep breath, talk to God, listen to some worship music. If you're lonely, you need to get around someone, call a friend. Hey, how you doing? If you're tired, take a 30-minute nap and rest, and watch you start doing things differently, because you're not operating from that place of exhaustion anymore. You're not exhausted anymore. We are becoming the woman that God intended us to be, or the young man that God wants us to be. Like, we're not going to operate in 2026 from exhaustion all year. We're going to operate in the fullness. We're going to operate the way that God wants us to be. And that's how we have to operate all year long. Emotional burnout will kill you faster than anything, because it relates to stress. And we definitely don't want that in our lives. And so we have to operate on that. Good morning, Miss Tracy. And so I'm actually about to get up off here, but I want you guys to just operate from a place of overflow. Focus on that. If you missed the She Blossom Women's Empowerment Tea, it was awesome, awesome, awesome. Women felt empowered when they left. Check out the testimonial videos on the Kim Abrams Show. And I just can't wait for the next women's empowerment event. It's going to be later on in September. And if you guys are wanting me to come to a different location, like out of city or out of state, drop in the comments below or send me an email at thekimtalkshow@gmail.com, and I will happy to look at the area and set things up and just kind of go from there. So I am super excited about everything that God is moving in this direction. It's so amazing, y'all, and I just can't can't wait to continue to share this new journey of the She series. It's going to be amazing. So, Miss Tracy, next time you have to come to the next Women's Empowerment event, it's going to be awesome. We sold out last time, so I definitely expect to sell out this time with even more women that I can help change the world with, talking to everyone about Christ and how he really wants us to be. So stay tuned, follow the Kim Abrams Show, and make sure you hit the notification tab. Until next time, you guys continue to blossom. Bye.